Welcome to Game Savers Podcast, your next-gen gaming podcast for news, reviews, previews, impressions, analyses, and roundtable discussions involving past, present, and future games. My name is Tony Morris, and today I'm joined by my co-host.
I'm Wayne, and I love video games.
And we're also joined by a Game Savers family member coming back to the scene of the crime, Jack Finley.
Hi, I'm Jack. I'm the neighborhood meme lord and an illustrator.
You know it. And then we've got David Griffin joining the Game Savers family as well.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Awesome. Thanks for being here, David. So this is a bonus episode. This one's going to come out here on the weekend. This is our reaction to the Game Show Awards that have just happened. Again, obviously, a lot of these that we saw were CGI trailers, some gameplay sprinkled in there and fun stuff like that. But just an absolute ton of new content out there regarding new games announced, some sequels, AAA titles, indies, the Game of the Year awards themselves. Just a lot going on in this show, and we're really just going to kind of break that down from the top down. So along the way, we'll be bringing up different topics. We may not get to every single thing that happened during the show, but if you listen to this, we're kind of under the assumption that you saw the show, or you're not planning to watch it at all, and you just kind of want to know what happened, maybe through audio, and that's what we're here for. So let's just dive right into this thing. So Award show happened, 2.5 hours of just solid content. Wayne, what absolutely blew your socks off the most?
Good question. This may not be the obvious answer, but there was one game they showed a trailer for, and it was like a dark horror sci-fi type game. And I'm sitting there going, I'm getting Dead Space. I'm getting Dead Space vibes off this. And it was called the Callisto Protocol. And then they announced that it was by the guy who was behind the Dead Space games initially, and they've set up a new studio to create these games. And that was me. I was just like, oh my god, this is the greatest game of
That's my game,
like so far, and I cannot wait for that. I don't want to sound like a broken record because I'll make this point all night, but I don't want to get overly sucked in on the basis of a CGI trailer. I mean, we've seen no gameplay, and we're gonna make that point about a lot of games that we'll talk about today. But it's the spiritual successor to Dead Space, and I am all about that. So that's, to me, that was the biggest thing of the show.
Yeah, and how was that trailer? I mean, it started off in what looked like kind of a prison, right? Really creepy atmosphere. This guy's in there with his cellmate. Cellmate turns into some kind of monster-looking deal and basically just eats the dude, for lack of a better term. And I mean, it's set on where at? It's I think Jupiter's moons. One of those.
Yeah, it was Jupiter's moon, and that creature. There seems to be like so much emphasis on that creature, and that's similar to Dead Space. You know, they really honed in on the I can't remember what they were called. I was going to say xenomorphs. It wasn't xenomorphs.
Something like that.
It was
necromorphs.
Necromorph. That's the one.
There you go.
Yeah. So, God. Yeah.
What about you, Jack? What blew your socks off?
Oh man, this is an easy one for me. I mean, there were a lot of good games, but when I saw the trailer for the Evil Dead video game, I just knew I was in love, dude. Like, last time we had an Evil Dead video game, I think it was like 2004, and it's like that really shoddy looking computer game that came out. And it's like, it was okay, I guess, but like looking at like what Bruce Campbell's definitely reprising his role as Ash, and like, dude, when I heard his voice, I was like, oh shit, is that Ash? And then I saw like the ad for it. I actually looked at the video. I was like, whoa, and I started freaking out, dude. It was hilarious, but it gives me a lot of vibes similar to Dead by Daylight or like Friday the 13th, like those video games.
That's what I was going to ask. Do you think there's room in the market for another horror co-op shooter kind of thing?
Got a lot of those right now.
There's quite a few.
I think with like how the lore of the Evil Dead universe works, like how everyone would kind of become possessed by like the Necronomicon, I think it does leave a lot of room for development on gameplay. And like you know how like those games usually have the killer and then everyone's kind of running around, but in this game you like legit might not know who the killer is, or the killer can like randomly spawn another killer. Like, I think that's the one cool thing about it that could be really good gameplay design. But like you said, there's not a whole lot to go on with some of these ads or these trailers. So that's my guess for it. I'm hoping that's where they go in that direction. But I don't know. Looks really fun. Either way, I'm probably going to get it day one.
How about that? Yeah, same. I mean, I was stoked about that. I love the Ash versus Evil Dead series. The TV show on Netflix, huge hit for me. The movies themselves. Just can't wait to see that. Can't get enough zombie action there. Demon, whatever the hell you want to call it. I'll say for me, what absolutely stole the fucking show was Back for Blood, Left 4 Dead 3, whatever you want to call that, from Turtle Rock Studios. God damn it. I don't think I've ever been this hyped for a game in the last 3 or 4 years. Because at this point, you see a trailer, you see it once, and you're just hyped. I've watched this like probably 5 fucking times because I just could not get enough of it. I was always a huge fan of Left 4 Dead 1 and 2. You know how
Absolutely.
Valve is with making threes. And I mean, to see this, it was pre-alpha footage. So, it looked kind of rough around the edges, but I think that's to be expected, right? At least they gave us gameplay for the first time that night, which was a bold move in itself, especially being as early on as it was. You saw a lot of nods to the Left 4 Dead's 1 and 2 with like the safe room, the big tank looking zombies, some slow ones, some fast ones, the 4-player co-op, just a lot of cool things. And it's coming out in 2021. So
that's pretty quick.
Yeah, it's a quick turnaround time. And I think we're getting a beta, it sounds like, at some point soon for it. Just can't wait for that. So that's going to be a good one.
I thought it was cool that we got the CGI trailer, which is the way games are traditionally sort of teased and launched, and then the guy comes out and the exact quote was, "Movies are cool, but gameplay is king." And
there you go. Yeah.
And then we got the gameplay showcase, and I was sitting watching it, and I thought to myself, Tony's going to be really happy. Like Tony's going to be over them, and
I was fucking thrilled.
But then about 15 seconds later, I'm sitting going, you know what? I'm really happy that this got announced, because I think it's the fact that they've gone big with it. There's so many more zombies, like in terms of like footfall, but then the scale, the size of the zombies. There's one that came out, and it actually reminded me of Resident Evil 2, whenever Birkin evolves.
Yes.
There's like one big arm with the eye on it and stuff. There was a zombie from Back 4 Blood that looked like that, and I was like, God, this looks amazing, and this would be so much fun. If you'd have told me there was a sequel for Left 4 Dead coming, I would have been sort of like, oh, okay. But having seen it, I am 100% in. It looks brilliant. That's a day one purchase, without a doubt.
That's great to hear, because I know we just came on the 10th anniversary of Left 4 Dead 2, actually. I think here a couple months ago with that new update with a new map. So, I mean, just what a time to be alive for zombie fans. And did anybody else, real quick on that note, before I pop it over to David, did anybody else think that was going to be, Back 4 Blood or Left 4 Dead 3? Because at first I thought it was Dead Island 2 or some shit. I really did not know. But there's so many zombie games that could have been Dying Light 2. But at some point in that trailer, I think when you saw there were 4 of them, you saw a special looking zombie jump out with 4 arms. I was like, that's some Left 4 Dead looking stuff there.
I was chatting to a friend today, and I was talking about Back 4 Blood, and he was like, oh yeah, the Left 4 Dead knockoff. And I was like, dude, it's not a knockoff. This is,
oh my gosh,
goddamn studio.
It's Turtle Rock Studios. It is the sequel. This is Left 4 Dead 3.
Yeah, I was about to say that was the one thing that sold me on it. Is as soon as I saw Turtle Rock, I'm like, they have been teasing for about a year that they're working on something. This is it. I knew it was Left 4 Dead 3. Just of course, called something else, but yeah, I knew it was them.
Excuse my ignorance. Is Turtle Rock owned by Valve, or are they completely independent now?
I think they used to be, and don't quote me on that, but I think they might have been at one point under the Valve umbrella, because obviously Left 4 Dead 1 and 2. Yeah.
I think they're just a different studio that probably collaboratively worked with them, because they did own Evolve. So
yeah, and after that 10-year break, I mean, I don't know how long it's been for Evolve, but at least from Left 4 Dead 2, who knows what's happened in that amount of time. But David, what stalled the show for you?
Literally everything you guys talked about. So I don't want to reiterate too much, but definitely one of the biggest wow moments for me was the Callisto Project, because I did not know what I was seeing, and it definitely had the Dead Spacey vibes to it. And then of course, with it being CGI, I'm like, I'm not going to put too much stock into this, but I saw the creator of Dead Space come on. I'm like, yep, there we go. That's what I want. I love Dead Space. I absolutely love Dead Space, but one honorable mention I want to give to my actual pick would be Evil West, which looked like the Van Helsing kind of John Marston game.
Yeah.
That he was quick firing zombies or mutants or whatever they were, going all slow, and then he pulled out some kind of, I don't know if it was a hammer or like a wrench or something that was all engulfed in lightning, and he just did this ground pound. I'm like, that is looking really fun. That's looking like they paired Red Dead Redemption 2 or whatever West game with sci-fi, and it's looking like it's probably going to be a first-person shooter mixed with, you got all sorts of these, crack shot weapons you can like turn around. I bet he's going to be super nimble. He's going to have powers. And, even though it was just CGI, I'm really looking forward to what that was, because I was just watching the video and I'm like, this is looking crazy. And it just got more intense as it goes. I'm like, okay, whoever's doing this game's got some balls. Let's see what they got. Let's see what they got.
Do you think that'll be a single player game or a multiplayer game? Because but judging by that trailer, I guess, looks more single player than anything. But given the amount of multiplayer games we saw last night, do you think that would kind of fit that vibe?
I think that it definitely would, but I think single player is probably going to be the focus, because let's all be honest. Multiplayer is very saturated right now. If you want to go play a free-to-play game, they're all over the place. You can pop into Fortnite, you can pop into Warzone, you can pop into I think it's called Road Company. You can pop into Valorant. I can go on for another probably hour and a half. You can pop into so many free-to-play games and just start. Whereas everyone's, the whole homage for the last year and a half, 2 years, single player games are dead. And then the game of the year just proved that wrong. Game of the year for the last few years has proved that wrong. Sales are proving that wrong. Cyberpunk just sold 8 million copies in the first day and a half, despite many issues it may have. But I definitely think that it will probably have a multiplayer function. The more multiplayer comes out, and the older I get, since I am a middle-aged adult now, I find single player games a lot more fun than multiplayer games, because I don't feel like screaming my head off at someone that should have died, when it's usually just a network issue or lag issue that caused it. So
yeah. That's very true. There is so many other things that happened last night too. And I guess I should say, before we dive too deep into this, Wayne, there was something you wanted to mention maybe about, just kind of the state of the industry, or whatever we were going to say there.
That thing you were going to say about, or you were saying about, there was a bit of a narrative for a while there that no one wants to play single player games anymore. And I never knew what was the source of that? Who was saying that? And it just seemed to be the developers and the publishers themselves. Gamers weren't saying that. We were screaming out for single player games. And there was, as you say, all the proof, all the evidence were there. There was games like, the Mario games were still selling incredibly well. Horizon Zero Dawn, the Tomb Raider games, just stacks of them doing absolutely brilliantly. There's Assassin's Creed games come out almost every year, and it becomes exhausting listening to that same narrative that we don't want single player games. And of course, we love them. And The Last of Us just sweeping up. Ghost of Tsushima, strong showing at the award.
One of my favorite games.
And I guess, how about we dive into that for a second then? Because I know, initially when we were talking about doing this podcast reaction real quick, we said, hey, maybe we just stick to, going over things like the, world premieres and things like that, right? But there was a good chunk of awards that came out last night, some cameos and things like that. I guess we could dive into that for a minute. So, Jack, did you have anything to say about that?
Yeah, I actually had a note here about one of my favorite cameos. It was actually, weirdly enough, for the Stephen A. Smith introduction that they had for the esports
from ESPN,
team.
Right?
Yeah, and I think the only reason I kind of enjoyed that was like, one, I didn't really expect someone like him to be on the introduction for like Game Awards, but also I liked the slight that he made about the Dallas Cowboys. I thought that was pretty hilarious. I think another, like, they're also like more inclusive nature of like the awards that they're trying to do, like the what was that? Like the usability for like people with like disabilities. That award itself, I thought was really interesting. I didn't even think they had an award like that, and this is the second year in a row that they've had that award.
I think so, yeah.
I thought that was pretty interesting as well. So I think those were my two like highlights. So
cool. Any other thoughts on the awards before we dive right back into the world premieres and the gameplay reveals and all that fun stuff?
There was a few things that kind of jumped out at me. To me, Naughty Dog don't really need a pat in the back, and EA and Bethesda and BioWare, these massive corporate companies, they don't really need it. But when we companies like the guys that made Among Us get awards, and it's 3 kids sitting on a bed in a bedroom,
and they were so happy too, right?
And it was so wholesome. There was one of them was almost in tears accepting the award and stuff. And I was just sitting there going, this should be what this is about, you know, just sort of
Mhm.
highlighting those games and those developers and the kids that are kind of, you know, knocking their pan and trying to get these little indie games out the door and stuff. I love that. I don't care about the big companies getting awards. I don't. I doubt they even care about it themselves. That they care about the millions of dollars coming in. You know, not
I
the,
mean, you could kind of
not
tell that by like the responses from those AAA
absolutely.
developers,
Yeah,
though. Like it almost seemed like pre-recorded, written down. Like, oh, hey, read this off if you know if you're gonna win or not. Like you were saying earlier, like the one girl who was part of the dev team for Among Us, she was like crying and smiling and laughing, and you could like, well, I mean, they had masks on, but like you could still see like their reactions. They were really
absolutely. Yeah.
pleasantly
Half of it's in the
surprised.
eyes.
Yep.
Yep.
And then the other one for me, best ongoing game, and I can't remember all the nominees. I think it was the likes of, I think Fortnite was in there, and maybe was Call of Duty in there? I can't remember.
I
Yeah.
think so. I know Call of Duty's in a lot.
Destiny, the likes of those games, and No Man's Sky lifted it. I mean,
How cool is that? What a redemption
and
arc.
the
Goddamn.
guy was taking a drink at the time whenever I announced
Yeah.
it because
He's like, I didn't
and
expect
look, he's
this.
like, you know, I don't need to do a speech. Like, I'm not winning this. I'm just sitting dripping.
Yeah.
You know, and then he's like, well, by the way, you won this. And he's just like, what? I thought
Like
I thought
it's
that
like
was
you
another
gotta-
great moment.
It's like you got to compose yourself and be like, oh crap, I'm one of the big guys and I won. Okay, be cool about it, but you know, just you got like 1,000 thoughts rushing through your brain of what you should do,
Yeah.
and you know you can't be like, yes, I won, I deserve this award. You just got to be, you know, humble about it. And I mean, I was hoping it was No Man's Sky because even though I don't really play the game, they are amazing. They're pushing out these updates despite the hate.
Yeah.
You know,
Now, I will say, as one of those that initially I bought the game and I hated it, and I think I refunded it pretty quick. I'm actually going to probably come back around to that sometime here in the holidays. At least jump back in there. I know these updates have been getting a ton of positive press. And I would. Oh, go ahead.
I've said it before. I love the story of No Man's Sky more than I love No Man's Sky. You know, it's
really.
Makes sense.
it's just a great story. The development of it and the way they turned it around and how it was just
Okay,
you know,
yeah,
a
I
shit
gotcha.
show at the start, and then I don't know how many like, you know, updates they've had to the game, but you know, it's
I
a
think
really
there's been
loved game.
3 massive updates that are free.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
Which
you know,
is one of the hugest selling points for a game is if you can put all this content in there for free to fix your game, I'm all for it.
it's a great success story for a small studio, and I just love seeing that. You know,
Mhm.
one other thing, during the awards, there was the Best Actor award or Best Performance, I think it was,
Mhm.
and 2 of the actresses that were up for it was Ashley Johnson, who played Ellie in The Last of Us,
Yep.
and Laura Bailey, who plays Abby.
Man, as soon as I saw those two announced, I was like, "Oh shit, that's gonna divide some people." Here we go.
You could see they had like all the, you know, the Zoom videos up, and
Yep.
whenever they called out Laura Bailey's name, you seen Ashley throwing her hands up like, yeah, you know, she was so happy for her friend. When in that, because I don't know if you know, those two are like really, really good friends. They do Critical Role Dungeons and Dragons YouTube channel together and stuff.
Oh,
So it was just great seeing someone being so happy for someone else that won the award, you
Especially
know.
when they fucking hate each other in the game, right? Like,
True.
I mean, wow.
goes to show you how believable their performances are. So
Right.
Indeed.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some would have some words about The Last of Us 2 winning so many awards last night. Am I right? Maybe Jack.
I made the joke earlier. I was messaging Tony. I was like, yeah, dude, they should have just changed the name of it to The Last of Us 2 Awards 2020. And I thought that was pretty clever at the time. I was like, because every award, man, every award, and like the whole like I mean, when Eddie Vedder came on to sing the song that was sang in the game, or like
Future
how many-
Days by Eddie Vedder. Yep.
Yo, and like every cat, like they had all the cast members. They had like hashtag Ellie Abby. I was like, yo, this is legitimately geared towards Last of Us 2. Like, I swear to God, like the whole thing.
But if the shoe fits, right? I mean, it was like at least halfway deserving. I know there's a lot of people out there that feel strongly about other games too, like Ghost of Tsushima, Hades, some others. But
yeah,
I mean, damn it. you
which
can't deny it.
which Ghost won Best Art Direction. So
It also won the Gamer's Choice, I believe, correct?
yes,
or
yes,
Gamer's
I'm
Voice.
glad it won. Yeah, Gamer's Choice or Gamer's Voice, and I prefer that because I was like, you got to give some light to someone else besides Last of Us. And I thoroughly enjoyed playing both of them, but I'm sorry, but I enjoyed playing Ghost a little bit more. So
Yeah.
I was glad that won at least the Voters' Choice or whatever it was. So
Yeah, and I know, and we did. Oh, sorry, Wayne.
Well,
I was going to say, I know, and we did the. Oh, sorry. I was just going to say real quick. Yeah, I know. In like a couple of weeks ago, we did the game of the year awards here at Game Savers, and those were two I was just absolutely torn between. For that was Ghost of Tsushima and Last of Us 2. It could have gone either way. I ended up going with Last of Us 2, but like I said, just two excellent games. You can't go wrong with either one.
No, you can't.
Yeah, I was just going to say one of the awards that The Last of Us 2 won that I don't think it deserves was it won Best Action Game, and to me it's not an action game.
Yeah.
It's not the
Yeah.
action, it's not the gameplay that makes that game what it is. You know, it's the characters, the acting, the story, the world building, and all that. You know, the actual sequences that you play through, the sort of stealthy sequences, they're good, but
Yeah.
they're not the bit. It's not the best video game of the year, if you get what I'm saying. You know.
Yeah.
feel
Yeah,
that.
I haven't played Ghost of Tsushima, but I've heard the combat in it is exceptionally good, and I
Save
think
it for a rainy day because
so. I think
gonna love it.
maybe
You're gonna get lost in it.
yeah. So I think something like that might have been a better winner for that category. I'm not saying one game's better than the other. Just saying for that
Right.
category, you know.
I agree with you on that one.
Any other thoughts, any awards here before we dive right back into these world premieres? Because man, I know we got a ton of them. Holy cow!
I did want to dive into the which one was it? The best sound award.
Oh yes.
Trying to remember which one that went. I got them all written down. As far as I think, best sound went to Last of Us. Best audio design, Last of Us Part 2. Yeah. So
Might as well have, right? Because you had goddamn
Yeah,
Eddie Vedder
yeah.
from Pearl Jam go up there playing guitar.
of course, yeah. No, I was actually hoping that it was going to be Doom, because I mean, there is no other soundtrack in there that gets you want to play the game more while you're already in it than a Doom soundtrack. Like
Amen.
I play that music on my Plex server, like when I'm on the road all the time, and the amount of times I hit play on Rip and Tear when I'm in traffic gets me through traffic so well. It is absolutely amazing.
That could be a good or a bad thing, I guess.
Not to be pedantic, which is the sort of thing I say when I'm about to be pedantic.
Uh-oh.
But there was there was an award for best soundtrack and then award for best audio design.
Right.
And best soundtrack, it was Final Fantasy VII Remake. You got that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
It was a funny one because they announced that in the pre-show.
Yeah.
They've done a few awards during the pre-show. I don't know why they would do that, but yeah, it was actually, in terms of like music in a game, it was Final Fantasy that lifted it. And,
I'd give that to Final Fantasy for music. Yeah, I think for soundtrack, I actually ended up going to Doom as well for our picks, Wayne, a few weeks ago here on the channel. But
yeah.
God, some of the other ones. Let's dive back into these world premieres because again, we had a ton of good ones. We'll just keep going around here. I'll leave this wide open for anybody that wants to jump in here. But ton of great world premieres. Again, a lot of CGI, some gameplay sprinkled in there. Shoot, what's next?
I'll pick up. I'll go for one. They are remaking Ghost and Goblins, and I don't know if you guys are old enough to remember this. The original Ghost and Goblins to me is like that's my Dark Souls of my youth. You know,
Oh,
that game was hard as nails. I don't think I got past the second level like ever.
I'm right there with you.
Um,
I'm right there with you.
And,
I loved it, but it destroyed me.
if you don't know it, it's like a really old school 2D side scrolling sort of, I wouldn't say it's a fighting game. Basically, you've got spears and then there's like zombies and stuff come out of the ground and you can get hit twice. So you've got armor on, you get hit once, you lose your armor, you get hit again, you're dead. And there's just constantly enemies spawning coming out of the ground either side of you.
and is this like a roguelike, by the way, Wayne?
No,
I
no,
guess
it's
before its time.
completely
Or...
like 2D side scrolling type game.
Okay.
Same
guess,
level every time, all of that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
before procedural generation was a thing.
Huh.
Yeah. It's tough. It's really tough. I hope that whenever they showed it, they showed like a sort of a Capcom collection thing just at the end. So I think there's more games coming. Seen a mention of 1943. I don't know if anyone remembers that. Top down shoot 'em up.
Mm-mm.
And I'm hoping those games let you play the original. I hope the original come with it as well. Because
That would be cool.
yeah, it looks fun, it looks good, and it looks modern and updated. But I kind of want an opportunity to play the old school, the original one as well.
Yeah, I would like to
cool.
play that again as well.
All right, you guys are gonna fucking kill me here, but I gotta say it. Has any company at this point in time here, this is a hot take, fucking come at me, whatever, but Nintendo, has any gaming company out there remastered as many fucking games as Nintendo has at this point?
Other
Anyone?
than
Can anybody name a company right now off the top of their head that has remade more games than Nintendo at this
the only
point
one I
in
think
time?
that can
Bethesda?
compare is like
Oh,
I was gonna say
Yeah, I mean,
Skyrim's come out a
Skyrim,
couple times. Okay,
Skyrim.
okay,
But
yeah.
hey, we did get a Skyrim
Yeah.
ad for the Xbox Series X.
We did.
We
We
did.
did. I was like, can we let this thing die already? Good Lord.
I don't think it's a
2020 Game Awards, and it came out in what, 2009?
11.
In a while, yeah.
Yeah.
It's been probably more than 9 or 10 years, and they're still advertising it. I'm like,
I mean, it's not a Game Awards ceremony without a Skyrim trailer. So I mean,
Skyrim now for your glasses.
They should have rolled in, Capcom as well, just to announce Resident Evil 4 again.
So okay, here's where I was going with that. Because Nintendo and Capcom, when they showed off this Ghost and Goblins Resurrection trailer, right? The first thing you saw was Nintendo. Then you saw Capcom. Now, when I see that back to back and I don't have any other context, I think, holy shit, is this Resident Evil coming to Nintendo? Is this Resident Evil coming to Switch?
Mhm.
And fuck, I'll be honest, like I'm stoked about the Ghost and Goblins take, but I was kind of pissed it wasn't Resident Evil because I was like 2 seconds away from jumping out of my chair. And to see that it wasn't Resident Evil, I was hurt. I was truly stricken down by Capcom and Nintendo on that one.
Well, one thing that Nintendo announced was Super Mario World 3D.
Yeah, they actually announced
Yes.
that a couple months ago, I think.
Oh, that was already announced? Yeah. So that was as much a trailer as anything then.
Yeah, because I remember that they did the Bowser's, what's it called? Bowser's
Fury?
Bowser's Fury. Yep.
Yeah, Bowser's
Yeah.
Fury. They announced that a couple months ago. I'm like, oh, that might be kind of cool to have a new DLC or a new take on Super Mario yet again.
Another one.
I think that's all down to almost every Wii U first party title has got a re-release on the Switch. Like Mario Kart
Yeah.
8, Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze, now this Mario one. And I think it is purely just because the Wii U didn't sell particularly well. And Nintendo were aware there's a lot of like Nintendo fans that didn't get to play those games. So they're getting
Yeah.
they're getting carted out again on the Switch. And I guess it makes sense, but at the same time, personally, I think the Switch feels a little bit like, the Wii U 2.0 in terms of, the video game library we're getting. Just
Yeah.
far too many remasters, as you say. I mean, that's the point they were making,
Yeah, and if they do start remastering even more, which it looks like that's all they're going to do at this point, if I'm being honest, but hell, throw like the Wind Waker out there, right? Some of those other games that already got remastered on the goddamn Wii U. I know we had a couple Zelda titles on there. Zombie, we already got Pikmin. I mean, we're getting so many, like you said, from the Wii U. I guess it'll be interesting to see if that's the future of the Switch. But what else did we have out there for premieres?
There was a pretty big game called Crimson Desert.
Yeah.
Which
I'm glad somebody brought it up.
yes.
it seemed to me like first of all, I thought the trailer was really strangely paced.
Yeah.
Because there was almost a minute of like just landscapes and people walking.
Yeah.
And that far into the trailer, I'm sitting going, what is this?
Yeah.
Because there doesn't seem to be any combat. It seems to be set in a world where you would expect combat and story, but it almost looked like, the walking simulator type games. So I'm kind of going, what is this? And then we started getting lots and lots of combat in the trailer. And then we got a few things that reminded me of like Assassin's Creed. There was a bit where the main character walked into like a stone archway, and then it all kind of started going like digital. Which to me is like, Animus glitches from Assassin's Creed.
That's
Yeah.
exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then from there, we went on to like fighting monsters and dragons and stuff. And I'm going like, what is this game?
Yeah.
It
That-
does look
yeah.
like it's big wide open valleys and stuff. So it looks a bit like Assassin's Creed, but it's got a little bit of maybe Dragon Age-y type stuff with the dragons and stuff.
There's a lot of different ecosystems, right? There's
Yeah,
like I saw
yeah.
desert biomes, I saw snow tundras, some northern forest looking things like you'd see in Sweden, Norway, something like that. Yeah, I mean, God, that game.
It looks interesting, and it's a new IP, and I am screaming out for new IPs. We do get a lot of sequel after sequel, and it's developers playing it safe. something like, Crimson Desert. It's a
I think
risk. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, my bad. So I think one of the cool things about Crimson Desert 2 is I actually played the predecessor for it. It's called Black Desert. And
Oh.
yeah, it's by the same
Is it a
studio, Pearl
sequel?
Abyss. Well, it's like a spiritual successor more than like a prequel sequel thing, but like the mechanics are pretty much the same, but they're not going to like translate from Korean to English and Google Translate like they did.
Right.
And that's not a joke. That is not a joke. They literally
that?
did that. Yes.
Oh my
Atrocious.
god.
Yes.
That is the worst thing you can possibly do for
Like-
localization.
Imagine the worst localization, but the best combat you've ever seen in like an MMO. But they're actually going to be story focused and actually going to do localization because this isn't like their first time doing it this time. And so I think that's what's got me really excited for Crimson Desert. So no, it's a great, it looks awesome. I'm stoked.
Huh.
So, some other things to note for that too. I noticed in that trailer, I mean, we saw dragons, we saw some wildlife like wolves, bears, some minotaur looking creature, things like that. But if I had to watch that trailer, I think 2 times as well after the Game Awards, because I was like, that does look really badass. You saw humans and what looked like orcs living together, in the same, living landscape and things like that. Had awesome graphics, maybe even destructible environments from what we saw with that castle falling
looks
apart.
of
There
it,
at the
yeah.
end. So, I mean,
I'm not gonna lie. I was kind of expecting Pokemon to show up because of how big that world was. They had everything in that world. I was like, why not put some Pokemon in there? Put some Smurfs in there. Put some Mario tunnels in there. Collaboration of everything.
Anything could have happened. It was just wow. So it'll be nice to see another huge MMO. I wonder if it's going to be live service, or if Black Desert was. I'm not as familiar with that title. I know it's a really huge hit on Steam and on PC in general, but gosh, it'd be nice to see another World of Warcraft-esque looking game out there with some updated graphics and things like that, right?
Yeah.
The supposed game that's supposed to dethrone World of Warcraft that never happened.
Right. What else did we have out there? God, so many.
A lot of stuff.
Dragon Age, right? That happened.
I'm super looking forward to Dragon Age. That's honestly probably one of the biggest games out there that like had so much player choice that went into it. Like I actually had to stop playing Dragon Age Origins because I killed off my healer very early in the game because my healer and one of my other party members had a fight, so they dueled, and I had to kill my healer. I'm like, how do I get through a game without a healer? And so while I mulled over that for a moment, time just kind of went by and I didn't play it again. And I'm like, man, I want to go back and play Origins. Then they come out with Dragon Age 2 and Dragon Age, I don't know if it was 3 or if it was Inquisition.
Inquisition.
I played a little bit of that, and I'm sorry, but the controls just always felt really weird to me. So I couldn't get into it as much. And the way that they did the armor was also kind of wonky. But I mean, I'm glad they came out with it. But I'm definitely looking forward to, I'm hoping we're going to see a more realistic type of the game, because Inquisition was more kind of like I don't want to say cartoony based, but a lot more brighter colors in that one. And I would definitely like to see more realism in this one, and more of a kind of a, not a Mordor feel, but a more realistic, kind of serious feel to it.
In that trailer, I was kind of thrown a little bit by the style of it, because there was bits where like the character was going down this alley and it looked like a fantasy environment, but each of the little shops had like neon signs outside that looked like they were made out of magic, and it sort of gave like a fusion of like science fiction and fantasy in the same setting. And I can't think of anything else that looks the way that looked. I thought it was very unique looking. Don't know if I dig on it. It seemed a bit weird. And then there seemed to be a real focus in that trailer on like a sort of a ninja stealthy kind of character as well.
Yeah.
So I know that, your average RPG, you start off, you pick your class and you get to play the game whatever way you want to play it. I'm wondering, is this not going to be like that? Or is this maybe like one trailer where they're just showing one class? I don't know. There was sort of, I think it's, again, I know we're going to mention this a couple of times, but it's that problem of, just showing off a CGI trailer and not telling you about the game, So I'd like to know a wee bit more about Dragon Age and see what direction they're going in with it.
Yeah. I completely agree with that one. I think it's to the point of, because I think at E3 or some other game conference, it might have been a Tokyo Game Show, that they showed like a wall of dragons, and they said Dragon Age is coming or whatever. I think it's way too early in development for them to even show anything. So they had to, do what games typically do and do their CGI trailer for it. And then in 6 months or a year, they'll have some gameplay for it. So they wanted to, remind the fans out there that, Dragon Age is still coming because it's still a loved franchise, even though they occasionally bork some stuff. But yeah, they needed to get something out there to, show the fans that something is coming. Don't abandon us yet. Just stay tuned. So
pray for hope. What else is out there? Jack, I'm sure you saw a ton of other things. Holy cow. I know we were chatting earlier about some of these.
I'm gonna have to definitely go with Arc and Furious 2. The Arc 2 game that was announced.
Yep.
So when I saw that, I was like, what the trailer for it with like the dinosaurs and the fighting. The first thing I saw when I saw the bald dude, I was like, why does that look like a shitty CGI version of Vin Diesel?
It does.
And the answer is because it is a shitty CGI.
They must have made so much money from their initial game. They're like, okay, we got to just throw money at something. And they're like, okay, y'all know anybody? We got Vin Diesel. Okay, let's get our mocap stuff in there. They got to pull the dusty stuff out of the closet, wrap them up in it, and be like, okay, make a face. And he just does this. So they go with that for the whole trailer.
When I heard him talk, I had to like re-look at the trailer again. I was like, I swear to God, that's Vin Diesel. Like that's that like 8 packs a day smoker's voice, like 9 Fast and Furious, like gas fumes affecting his voice. Vin Diesel, like that's him.
He's in the Stone Age. My God.
Yeah.
Maybe even before that, whatever age that would have been before the Stone Age.
But even the animation in that CGI trailer was just off. Like every swing just seemed like half-assed. I don't know if they just like walked down the local park and got a load of LARPers and put dots on them. You guys are doing mocap now. It was everything about it was just slightly off and felt wrong.
I mean, I would definitely say the weapon swings look more like someone hitting someone with a Nerf and going, "I'm sorry, I don't mean to hurt you. I'm sorry, I don't mean to hurt you."
I'm just gonna assume that they're putting more of their fund and time into the game development and not so much the trailer for it. Hopefully,
yeah.
But, I mean, I'm expecting good things like Wildcard Studios. I think that's the name of the studio that made Arc. Like I expect really good things from them, so I'm hopeful. I think.
So that trailer had me feeling so many emotions because you started off and you had like the tribal conflict where you had these guys, then you had this monster looking group show up, which whatever, and then fucking T-Rex dinosaur comes out of nowhere. Okay, things just escalate a little bit, but I'm still not thinking this is Arc by any means. T-Rex gets done nomming on everybody that comes out of the left and right, eats some poor girl's mom or something like that pushed her out of the way. I don't know what happened there, but anyway. And then they run down into this cave and they can find this like tech looking stuff where it's
right. Yeah,
like
that blew me away. I was like,
"What is this? What the hell is going on, Arc?"
I'm not gonna lie. I legitimately thought it was gonna be Arc Horizon Dawn or something like that because the way they mixed dinosaurs, primitive technology. I'm like, can you mix 65 million years more weird than what you're doing right now?
And the thing is, straight after that game, they announced the Arc animated series.
Yes.
And I sat and watched that and I went, oh, okay, fair enough. This looks okay. But then did you see the cast of actors they've got for it?
Oh my gosh.
I mean, it's like the trailer for the video game made me think, well, they're not taking this seriously. And then I seen the cast for the animated thing and went, they are definitely
taking it seriously.
Diesel, Russell Crowe,
Jared Butler,
so many other.
Gerard Urban.
Gerard Butler was in there too. I was like,
David Tennant. Just like absolutely mind-blowing cast for the animated show. So they're obviously pumping money into this franchise, and they're expecting it to be big.
Oh yeah.
I guess. I mean, I'm beginning to wonder where they're getting the funding for the animated series because I'm like, that's like a blockbuster film right there, almost.
Too much.
Mm-hmm. Like that is a huge cast. Granted, I only knew about half the names on there, but I'm like, one film with Gerard Butler probably cost a couple of $100 million. So I don't know what kind of budget they're working with.
I think this one. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, Jack.
I was gonna say this real quick. I think one thing that made me laugh though is like on the forums on like Steam and everything, everyone was like, "Man, I think they're gonna be done with the Arc IP. I think Wildcard's moving on." Fuck no, they're not. Like they came in showing like, "No, we got an Arc 2 coming out. Like it's It's a thing.
We ain't done yet, Daddy.
We ain't done yet.
I'll tee this one up for you, Wayne, and I can't believe nobody's brought this up yet. But the very end of the show, last world premiere, we get, and we've kind of been stricken back by the most recent entry in this series, but this was, I think, the biggest AAA title reveal of the night, maybe by far. But Mass Effect will continue. We don't know what it is. We don't know if it's 4. We don't know if it's spin-off. We don't know if it's like Andromeda. We don't know what it is, but we're getting another Mass Effect, Wayne. How about that?
No, we know what it is. We know what it is.
What is it? Tell us, brother Wayne. Tell us.
Oh, we do. Okay.
First of all, if you're not familiar with Mass Effect, it is based in the Milky Way. The original 3 games are based in the Milky Way, our universe. And whenever they done Mass Effect Andromeda, the whole idea was we're moving away from the Milky Way. We're going to a completely different universe, completely different time period. And not necessarily for that reason, but that game was shit. And everybody knows, all the fans know that we want to go back. We want to go back to that original Mass Effect 3, those characters, that story, that world. That's what we loved. Not Andromeda, the original ones. Now, when I watched that trailer, it's sort of flying through space and through all these universes and galaxies and stuff. And you can tell that's the Milky Way. That's
You're a shit ton smarter than me, Wayne, because my inner
So that was-
astronomer was like, I don't know where we're at. I know we're in space, but
So that was my first, this is clear. We're going back to the Milky Way. We're going back to the original settings. And then we got a character that I thought looked very, very much like Liara T'Soni, which is one of the characters from the original trilogy.
she's like the blue character, right? She's
Yep,
blue, alien looking. Yeah.
That's been confirmed. And then she's on this planet and she picks up a bit of metal out of the snow and dusts it off. And there's an N7 logo on it. And I'm just sitting going, it's Commander Shepard's armor. That's like the remains of Commander Shepard's armor. So maybe they're like looking for him. He might still be alive. And it's like, we are getting a Mass Effect sequel to that original trilogy. And
That would be cool.
now, don't get me wrong. It's still by BioWare. And BioWare put out Anthem, which was received poorly. They put out Mass Effect Andromeda, which was received poorly. They put out Dragon Age Inquisition, which didn't, hit the stride that it really should have. So do I have a lot of faith in BioWare? No. But I can't help be excited for a new Mass Effect if it's going back to its roots.
And we found out today, too, I mean, just shortly after the show, that they're bringing back the original devs from that trilogy to work on this, right?
I've seen that.
Oh, shit.
They've hammered it. If you go onto
Yep.
Twitter, they are literally naming individuals and going, this is who this person is, and this is what they done on the original trilogy and why they're so good at what they do. And they're literally name checking developers. They're really trying to get people on board.
We might have a good sequel then.
Yeah, fingers crossed. I think it's good that they've listened. They could have just stuck to their guns and gone, you know what, we had a trilogy planned for Andromeda, and we're gonna stick to their guns and put it out. But they haven't. They've listened to the fans. They've listened to the feedback. They've realized where they went wrong, and hopefully, fingers crossed, we get the Mass Effect game we deserve. The one thing I'm really hoping for is I read the Mass Effect novels as well. The writer who
Oh, wow, you're really into it.
big into it.
Scary.
The guy who wrote the first 2 games and a bunch of the novels is a guy called Drew Karpyshyn. If they got him back in, that is me 100% sold on this game. 100%.
Wow,
All I can say is that if Wayne's fucking hyped for Mass Effect, I'm hyped, because I don't think there's a bigger Mass Effect fan out there. What were you going to say, Jack?
Oh, I was just going to ask you real quick, Wayne. With like the recent developments that EA's done on story-driven games, mainly I'm thinking like Fallen Order and how they did kind of like a return to roots for like a good quality story-driven game and single-player game. Do you think that they might actually put the development and the development cost and like kind of loosen the reins a little bit for BioWare so they can actually make like a half-decent sequel to a Mass Effect game?
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, the point you made there with Jedi Fallen Order is a perfect example. I really do think they'll let Respawn do what Respawn wanted to do, and it seems like they're not interfering as much with your game has to have a multiplayer component. That has to have something we can monetize. It has to have microtransactions. They've got they've got story-driven games that are just you pay your $60, you play the game, you're done. And then they've got stuff like Apex Legends, which is this is free to play, and it's got all that microtransaction crap in it. And I think maybe they're on the right path now. Now, not with their sports games. The sports games, I think that's a different ball game. They're still doing the
Literally
pay $60 and then give us another $60 in microtransactions and another $60. So their sports games, I do think, is a separate entity. But I think you're right. I think they're starting to find their stride and understand what gamers want, and also what they're willing to put up with and what we're not willing to put up with. Because seriously, fuck Battlefront 2. That's what I'm essentially saying.
Yeah, I mean, I will agree with you. I'm wondering how much of the Andromeda and how much of Anthem was, EA controlling things and saying, hey, you can't do this, do this, do this. We want this in the game. I think 90% of it, or okay, maybe at least 50% of it is probably bad decisions by the publisher, because they won't let the developer do their work. And I don't want to, drop too many big names here, but when it comes to names like Kojima or Druckmann or Balrog or Stig Asmussen, guys like those, they're held back by the publisher. They're held back by their creative ability, which that is what needs to show in the games. I don't care how much money the publisher is going to put into it. I guarantee you, if it comes out by this particular studio or by this particular guy who's got a great track record, people will buy it. You just need to let them have their creative, to let them take the creative role, because I mean, they are creative directors. They direct the creativity. If you hold back any part of them, they're going to stop caring about what they're making, because it's not what their passion is. Then they're going to start, they're going to be like, okay, guys, looks like the new check is in. Oh, we're only going to have 3 bad guys, not 20. Cut it down. and then the game comes out, not enough bad guys. There wasn't enough people to shoot. And so, I think the publishers need to calm themselves and believe that their developers can make a good game without throwing around the suits too much.
Yeah. I mean, I think we are starting to see a shift in the whole industry. I mean, if you look at Bungie breaking away from, it wasn't EA they were under, was it?
Activision?
No,
Activision. Sorry, you're right. It was Activision. They broke away and they went independent so that they could do their own things, and they weren't feeling those pressures of, you have to have this in your game, you have to have that in your game. There's another, I can't remember the name of the studio, but there's a new studio set up recently, and it's a bunch of guys from, I think it's about 17 guys from different big studios, and they've come together to start their new studio. I'll look that up and I'll put it on the screen. But I think there's a big shift happening, and I think a lot of developers do not want to work under those publishers that are pushing these just horrible ethics within our video games.
It's a good generation to do it with this kind of hardware that's available to us. I'll say this: I can't believe none of you fuckers have said this yet, but Sephiroth from Final Fantasy jumping into the Smash Bros. Roster. Holy shit! That trailer was great. Wow.
I want to know when he drops so I can start practicing with him.
Yeah, same.
It said December. I'm like, December's halfway over. When?
Tell us, please. I mean, even this year, we've got Steve from Minecraft. We've got Min from ARMS. They've got to have something else up their sleeve, Nintendo, as far as other collaborations, whether that's Waluigi or we get, I don't know, Crash Bandicoot's always a big ask. Who else? Master Chief is always one that gets brought up. Some Mortal Kombat. I want
to see Dante or Virgil.
That too. That would fit.
I thought when the boss was cut in half, I'm like, Virgil, and then I saw this guy with long flowy hair. I'm like, that's not Virgil.
Virgil, that ain't you.
Virgil, where you at, bro? And then Sephiroth, I'm like, okay, I can get behind that. Not what I wanted, but I can get behind that.
It was a very different trailer too, because I mean they presented Sephiroth as like this villain, right, amongst the entire cast, where he was fighting all the normal characters you'd see on the roster, which is what they do anyway. It's a goddamn fighting game. But you saw at one point he actually stabbed Mario, which everybody thought was through the heart or something. It held him up. It had that nice little shadow, and you were like, "Oh my god, dude, this guy just killed Mario like with a sword? Could that happen? Like full CGI and everything." Yeah, and it's like his collar or something like that. It poked through. Yeah,
his suspender strap. I was like, man, this is kind of dark for Nintendo. Wow. Really and they zoom in. I zoomed in. I was like, man, Nintendo would have sued if they would have killed him off.
It was incredible. That was I was blown
granted. I'm pretty sure that Smash Ultimate is actually a Nintendo published title, so I don't think they would even do that. So
Can't sue themselves, I guess, but
yeah, exactly.
So much good stuff there on Nintendo. Gosh, what else? Other thoughts on that, or what else was out there?
Well, segueing on from Nintendo, a series that started on the Nintendo platform but is now an Xbox exclusive. We're getting a new Perfect Dark game. I don't know.
are.
It looks good.
Yeah, it does look really cool. Now, I've never.
It looks CGI.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but I don't know. It does help Xbox a little bit, you know, in terms of, you know, having another exclusive to look forward to.
Finally.
Yeah, that platform definitely needs more games.
Yeah.
I was never a fan. I didn't like Perfect Dark in the 360. I actually wasn't a fan of the N64 one, but I'm willing to give it a shot on Xbox, especially considering if it's a first party title, it's going to be in Game Pass, so it's not going to cost anything to give it a crack.
Mhm.
Yeah.
What else was out there? Gosh, I mean,
There was another game. There was a game announced, a director's cut of a game. I don't know if any of you have played Sea of Solitude. It's a sort of an
It looks fun.
an indie style game by EA, but I've played it and I really enjoyed it. But the acting is awful and the dialogue is really bad, and it doesn't help that it's meant to be about it's all these metaphors for mental health issues. And whenever you're tackling issues like that, if you've then got bad acting and bad dialogue and stuff, it really doesn't help your cause. Now they showed a director's cut, and they've stated that the dialogue's been rewritten and they've got new actors to do it. And there was a Quantic Dream logo shown.
Yeah, I saw that.
That Quantic Dream didn't make that game, so I can't help but think that David Cage has played that game and went, you know, he's thought the same as me. This game's really good, but by God, the acting and the and the dialogue's bloody awful. So I wonder, has he sort of jumped in and said, "Look, we'll give you a hand with this, and we'll bring this game up to the quality that it's supposed to be." It got announced for Switch, but I'm hoping that director's cut gets released on other platforms, because it's a fun game, and despite the fact, you know, it's fun despite the fact that it's about mental health. But it's really interesting as well. It's definitely a good game. I think it deserves a bit more credit than it actually got. So maybe
talking about director's cuts here. Disco Elysium is also getting a director's cut.
Hell yes.
How is that game? I haven't played it.
No, Sam.
Wonderful. I mean, Jack, maybe you could speak more on that, because I know this seems like your type of game, right up that road.
I mean, I think if you really like CRPGs with like really dark overtones and like social commentary in terms of like plot lines, then I think you're really gonna like Disco Elysium. Like, oh my.
It's hard to say, because it's one of those games where you have so much dialogue to choose from, but that really is the game. It's not one of those, you know, action adventure crazy games. I guess in some ways it can be, but really, you know, it's go from point A to point B, talk to different people. Roll the dice for different choices and things like that, but there is so much dialogue choice in this game. It is insane. I really don't think I've ever seen this much choice in a game, in the sense that it's actually impactful and, you know, will have an effect on the story. You hear that a lot, but I mean, the amount of choices you have to make in any given situation are just incredible.
Sorry,
and it's all voice acted too. Oh, sorry.
You described that as a CRPG. Yeah.
Yes.
I'm actually not familiar. What's that?
So it's like a computer RPG. So that would be like the old Fallouts 1 and 2. That would be the Divinity Original Sin series.
Yep.
Things like Baldur's Gate. Yeah. So like where you have it's very similar to like, it's the closest thing you can get to a tabletop RPG, but in a computer game. Yep.
I like that. That sort of isometric view and that sort of thing.
Yep.
Yeah. Cool.
One thing I wanted to bring up that I definitely enjoyed and actually kind of made me laugh is It Takes Two, from that kind of that European. I think he was European, or I don't remember what the developer, but he was in a mocap suit, and he announced it, and it was like two ragdoll or kind of like twine people that had to work together in the game. I couldn't stop laughing.
Yeah.
Like I was like, this is really fun. Like I got a buddy of mine and I play co-op games all the time, and we actually I think the last co-op game that we had a ton of fun with was at least on console was it wasn't Celeste. It was a Chariot, where you had to have two
Oh,
people
yes.
driving, carrying that chariot. We laughed more trying to get that damn chariot in locations. I'm like, grab the rope. He's like, okay, I'll pull, and you grab the rope, and we just drop it. And we're like, okay, you get up there. And we just like the best parts of the game where we would be on a really big hill and we'd get on top and we just put our hands up and it would just roll down this hill that we get like run into something. But that It Takes Two looks like is it from the same guys that did A Way Out?
It is, yes.
Yes.
Okay. I actually played that with a guy that Tony Mean you used to work with.
How
And
cool.
we legit, like, I actually put a video up on YouTube because there were so many things like when you could go into the house and play with the items. We were in there for probably 30 minutes playing with different items in the house, making bubbles, eating cookies. We were doing laundry. We were sweeping the floor. I was like, why is this so fun to do? Like, we aren't even escaping anymore. Like, the elderly people have gone off to take care of the horse. They don't know we're near. And we're living in their house doing all the fun stuff. And as soon as I saw It Takes Two, I was like, that is an ambitious game compared to A Way Out.
And they
'Cause A
gave
Way
us a
Out-
lot of gameplay, didn't they?
It was
I
a
mean, it was
lot.
fun.
Like, it was probably, I think, like 15 to 20 different scenes or different levels where there
Yeah.
was so much going on and you had to help each other. I'm like, man, you know how many times I'm gonna try to push him off the ledge and just see, what kind of sounds he makes whenever he falls off. But yeah, I honestly, I'm very, very interested in that game. It looks like they're really putting a lot of heart and soul into that game.
The thing I thought that was cool about it, whenever you play co-op, you're playing as two different characters, and they're like a couple.
Yes.
So if you're playing that game like with your girlfriend or your wife or whatever, you get to play out those sort of characters. And I was thinking, I really, really hope that there's like character customization on it, because it'd be so much fun to play as the couple in the game if they looked like you and who you're
Yeah.
with. I think that'd be really, really fun. But yeah, you're right. It looks like a blast. It looks like an absolute blast.
And I loved the narrator on there too. That guy was hilarious.
I think
He absolutely was.
the guy that announced it, that's Joseph Ares. He was the guy.
Yeah.
I don't remember if you
Ah.
remember a couple of years ago, he was on the Video Game Awards, and
I
he
did
was
see
the guy, that was giving it, fuck the Oscars, movies are shit, video games are where it's at.
Yeah.
So
Because I mean, even Jeff Keighley was like, the guy everyone knows and loves, the guy that just went off
Yes.
script last time. We're bringing him back. I'm like, that's what you need to do. Bring back the people that
Yeah.
grip your audience.
And I think that game, the narrator seemed to be like a book with a face on it, and it had like two little ripped
Yeah.
pages coming out with hands on them. I think the voice of that was Joseph Ares. I'm almost
Oh.
sure it
I
sounded.
think so. It
It
sounded a
just
little
like
bit
him
like
to
him.
me. Yeah,
With like a little bit of a pitch adjustment or whatever.
uh-huh.
But I think that he's putting himself in that game and he's going for broke. And honestly, it looks like it's paying off really well.
yeah.
There were a lot of other games too. I mean, gosh, we had a lot of expansions that seemed to really dominate the night. Whether it was like extra add-ons, levels, different, like we mentioned, director's cuts. Were there any other expansions or sequels or other things like that really kind of took you guys by surprise? I know
I'm gonna
Jack
go.
looks like you got it.
I do have one. It's more along the lines of I'm mad that we saw this and not something else. But Elder Scrolls Online: Gates of Oblivion.
Don't say what you're about to say. Oh no.
You already fucking know what I'm about to say.
No.
I don't even
Why-
know you, and I know what you're about to say.
Why the fuck did we not get an Elder Scrolls 6 update? Nothing.
Oh.
Nothing. Like, we get a yearly trailer, a yearly update for Elder Scrolls Online. And I know it's like actually, it's mainly an entirely different team from the development team for the Elder Scrolls series, but it pisses me off. I don't want to see another trailer for Elder Scrolls Online. Like, I love the game. I've invested hundreds of hours into the game. I don't want another expansion. Like, just keep what we got. Let's keep the expansion we're on right now. Give me.
I mean, the expansion
Elder
we're on right
Scrolls
now
6.
hasn't been out that long, by the way, right? I mean, it's been
It's a year
not that
cycle.
long.
It's a year cycle, and that's the problem with the game. Like, we always get 1 year or maybe two top. No, it is 1 year, because last year was Greymore,
That's
and
right,
the one
yep.
that's set in Skyrim, and now we got one for Oblivion, and I'm like, dude, just take a break for a year.
That's crazy because I'll play devil's advocate here, devil's angel, if you want to call it that, I guess. But I
Okay,
fucking loved that trailer. I was stoked about it.
It was a
Like,
good trailer, but it's
We talk about
Okay.
CGI trailers. The Elder Scrolls trailers are the most manipulative CGI trailers ever. I mean,
they're so good.
they're up there with like World of Warcraft. You see these trailers and you go, "Whoa, that looks amazing.
And then you see the game,
And
it's
then
like,
you see
no.
the game, and it's like, that's not that. That is not that. You know, it's like a trailer for a McDonald's burger. You know, you're just looking at this thing going, wow, that looks
That looks amazing. And then,
and then you
go
walk in, you see this flimsy thing.
That's not the image I saw in the drive-through.
And it's the flattest thing you've ever seen in your life. I'm
Yeah.
like, this is not a McDonald's burger. They're like, no, that's our alternate burger that we serve people.
Excuse me, sir.
That's the stand-in.
But I mean, so I'll say this. I was a tremendous fan of Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion. I still will fight anybody tooth and nail that is the best entry in the entire Elder Scrolls series over Morrowind,
Wow.
Skyrim. Fucking fight me. But to see this coming into the Elder Scrolls Online world, I'm going to jump back into the world. I think that was something that, that had a huge player base when it first came out for Elder Scrolls Online. I think that's going to get a lot of people back into it because I'm one of those where if Elder Scrolls, Oblivion ever gets released for a remaster, a remake, anything like that, I'm there day one, collector's edition. Take my $200. I don't care. I am there. I will get it tattooed on me, whatever it takes. Please, I need this.
I'm right there with you, dude. Honestly, if they wouldn't have announced that it was an ESO online expansion, and then they showed the Hellgates and everything, I would have so loved an Oblivion remaster because that would have been icing on the cake for me. Because I mean, I love Skyrim; it was great. I've played it a bunch. Let it go. same with ESO, Jack. I don't know much about ESO, but I have seen a lot of content on it, and it looks like a great game. But yeah, we definitely need either, like you said, the next installment, so 6, or a remaster of Oblivion. You're going to make a ton of people happy.
I think that Microsoft is going to hoard that one in until maybe next year. Now that they kind of have Bethesda under their umbrella, I wouldn't be surprised if they announced that at their own event. Some of these, I have to wonder if we're waiting on that, and some are sitting on these announcements.
I was going to say that. I mean, Bethesda right now are in the process of being purchased by Microsoft. I don't think they're really in a position to be putting out trailers and building hype for games and stuff. I think they've got their hands full with all those changes that's going to be happening at that company. So yeah.
They probably have to run all the ideas by Microsoft now before they even do anything.
I would say it's another 6 months before we even hear anything about new Bethesda games and stuff like that.
Be interesting to see this virtual world. I mean, some of these companies, we had the Game Awards last night, which were obviously huge, and a really infrequent event. I mean, you think of what happened between now and E3, not a lot. A couple of smaller award shows we know about, but again, not a lot. So as we head here into the winter months, right, we've got new consoles we need to leverage. So are you going to see some of these Nintendo Treehouse style looking events where Microsoft has their own, conference, and, it's virtual. It's easier to do now, right? Doesn't take as much funding, doesn't take as much time. Exactly. Where you can announce these kinds of things virtually in February, have a mini conference then, or March, April, May, whatever that may be. So just going to be interesting to see.
Yeah, honestly, I know we kind of went past the award section. We're on the world reveals, but I have to mention Half-Life Alyx was probably one of the best VR games I have ever played. It was so innovative the way they did everything, and I have the base unit of Oculus Rift that's still tugged to the computer, and it doesn't have as great a hardware. I had a blast with that game. I couldn't wait to get into it the next day, and I usually can't play VR for more than 15-20 minutes because it usually gives me a headache because of all the movement around. I would be in there for 3 hours a night easily. Because they have so many different locomotion options. They have teleportation, they have movement, and they have actual walking. And you can have multiple sensors set up. And even though my computer wasn't good enough, a few months ago to run it, but I've got a 2070 Super, probably going to be updating to a 30 as soon as I can get one.
If you can peel one out of the scalper's dead.
Yeah. So if I can peel one out of the sky before someone else grabs one, but. The story was easy to follow, and the gameplay and the combat was just you honestly, sometimes I'm not going to, mention a John Wick game because we don't really need one because actually we just had one with John Wick Hex, but it feels like you're John Wick when you're shooting some of these face huggers or these crab heads because you reload your game. You have to actually grab another clip, put it in your gun, reload your gun, and then aim it, and it is 1-to-1. It is perfect. Now, some of the gun upgrades I wasn't a huge fan of, but I think VR is going to be doing very well in the next few years because with Half-Life Alyx and I'm not gonna, spoil anything or say anything to you guys, but it definitely left some openings for at the end of that for something else. I don't know what yet, since Valve is always, the big question mark of what they're gonna do, since they don't like the number 3. But I think we're gonna either have a Half-Life Alyx 2 or something along those lines. I just hope that they do, because that was probably, and I even played like Robo Recall, and I played Fruit Ninja. Fruit Ninja is a great one to play, free time when you're just, trying to kill some time. Plus, it gives you an armor workout. But I think VR is gonna do a lot better as far as hardware goes and as far as games go, and I would really love to see more of that. But I'm actually super glad that Alyx actually won Best VR AR, because I think it's probably one of the best experiences out there.
It's a beautiful thing to see.
We got to stop bringing people onto the podcast who have played Half-Life Alyx.
It's just so good.
I am sick with jealousy. I am sick with envy. I'm busting to play it, absolutely busting to play it. But I don't have the gear. I don't have the VR. I don't have a game.
Okay, stop spending money on bills and go pick it up.
It's worth it. It's worth it.
It is so, honestly, if that's the only game you play, because there's actually Steam Workshop support where you can download other people's levels. I want to play the game so much. I've downloaded other people's levels, and it's still great content.
Yeah, I love VR. I love Half-Life, but I just
get it, man. Get it. You will not.
It hurts to hear you talk about it.
If you regret it and you say, David, this was a horrible game, then I'll say, hey, to each their own. But I want you to call me, be like, this was the best recommendation ever. I'm gonna be like, you're welcome. Now go play it.
We had someone on, and they were talking about where a Strider like walks over the top of them, and I'm just
dude,
like,
that scared the crap out of me.
I think it was John. Yeah.
It scared the crap out of me. I would recommend a second playthrough, because the game was easy for me on normal, but I mean they did have other difficulty settings, but the visuals, wow, the innovation, the storytelling, the acting, play it.
Speaking of recommendations here, and again, I know there's not a whole lot of fans out there that are listening right now at the Call of Duty scene, but if you are one of those freak shows, well, Call of Duty Warzone Season 1, holy shit, that looks great. Now, this is the first time we're seeing a merger of Call of Duty games of sorts, where 1, it's free, my favorite 4-letter word, and 2, that starts with an F, sorry, I should probably mention that, but 2, besides being free, we're merging 2 games into 1. We're seeing Black Ops Cold War implemented in here, and we're seeing the new Modern Warfare put into Warzone. So you get the best of both worlds.
We're also seeing file sizes merge.
Finally, maybe. yeah. I mean, hard drives are sweating out there right now, but
pretty much.
We finally get a new map for this, which we've been waiting for all year. I'm one of those that's been playing Warzone since the beginning, since March, and have shamelessly sunk hundreds of hours into it with the boys.
I might have to get in there with you then, because I don't have anybody to play with, and I kind of like it.
Dive on, because it's free, easy to do, and it's fun. So I thought that trailer looked great too for this new map. It's on the prison map, it looks like. We saw a lot of good gameplay. We saw a lot of the environment. Looks like there could just be so many different dynamics on this little map. So I'm really, really, really looking forward to this new Call of Duty Warzone. It looks great. Other things we saw out there as far as other expansions or just game releases in general? Fall Guys.
Fall Guys.
Oh, sorry. No, go ahead. Take it away, Jack.
Well, I was actually going to talk about Fall Guys. I got one that I'm surprised you didn't mention. The Warhammer 40K Darktide.
Oh, God damn it. How did that slip? Thank you for bringing that up. Do tell us about that.
So like I like Warhammer. I'm gonna start out with that, but like I'm a huge fan of 40K, and like I've always wanted a spiritual successor to Space Marines, if you guys remember that game.
I do.
And like I kind of thought Vermintide was kind of it a little bit. Like I was like, okay, it's kind of like a mixture of like Left 4 Dead mixed with like Warhammer, but not really when I was thinking. And then we got Darktide, and I was like, holy shit, my prayers are answered. Like as a 40K fan, I was stoked. And I was like, the characters are really unique too. Like they're not like one looks like a mutant of a Space Marine, and like then the 3 others just look like average Joe, like mechanics or like whatever in that 40K lore universe. So I'm like, wait, we're not playing as Space Marines? We're not playing as Space Marines in the which, like, if you guys know anything about the 40K universe, like even Space Marines, like they get fucked too. So like, it's not, it's awesome. I'm stoked. I am
too. That it looked very similar to me to the mix of Space Marines you would see, and then the gameplay of Vermintide, maybe, where it's
Yep.
for those that haven't played the Warhammer 40K series, and in that aspect for Vermintide too, it's kind of similar to, your normal 4-player co-op, Left 4 Dead esque looking stuff, where not so much ranged weapons, but more in your face melee with hordes of the rats, the Vermintide. Great game. Just I can't wait for the sequel here. I think it's going to be great. You got that medieval environment, huge hordes, bosses. A mixture. It looks like there's a lot more guns, an emphasis on that this time around, which I welcome. Because I thought the gunplay and everything else was great in Vermintide too. So I had just Warhammer 40K Darktide. Like you said, Jack, cannot wait. Stoked.
Let me ask you a question about that. Like you know me, Tony. Whenever I get into a game or a series, I want all the lore. Like whenever I get into Mass Effect, I need to read all the books, all the comics, play all the games, and watch the anime.
If I ever have a
Um,
question on Mass Effect, I will go to you.
Now, I'm looking at like a Warhammer game and thinking that looks cool, that looks fun. To me, it looked like Left 4 Dead in space. But I mean, the lore of Warhammer is just. I mean, I think
It's
there's like
huge.
Bibles, like Warhammer Bibles dedicated to that stuff. Do you think is it worth someone who has like isn't gonna invest in the lore? Do you still think it's worth them dipping in and playing one of those games? Are they gonna feel a bit lost, like, or do you think it's still gonna be an enjoyable experience?
That's a good question. I'm glad you asked, and I'll turn that over to you too, Jack. I'll just put my 2 cents in on this of being a Warhammer noob at some different points in my life, because again, the lore is constantly changing, right? It's not just based out of one thing that happened 20, 30 years ago, and we're still based off of that. It's constantly evolving. I've played most of the Warhammers, whether it's the 40K series, the older strategy games, different things like that. Even the Total War adaptions that you see out there on PC, which I think are great. Vermintide 2, the Total War, the older, whatever you want to call it, RTS style adaptions you see on the PC. All of those, you don't really need to know the lore, but it's not going to hold your hand either. It can only help you, but it's not going to hurt you either. I think you can come into this series as a beginner and take right off into it. So you're more than welcome to be hyped. It doesn't sound like this especially will be a direct sequel. If you haven't already, play Vermintide 2. I think it's actually free on Game Pass as well. Plug for that. So you got nothing to lose. Try it out. What did you think about it, Jack?
Yeah, I think pretty much you got the nail on the head or something like that. Like, I think for the most part, especially with like Darktide and how it looks, I don't think you need to know the comprehensive lore at all. And like, it's so big anyways, like it's almost more of a hassle to go through it than it is to like just go through and to play the game. So I don't feel like you're going to be missing anything, to be honest. I mean, maybe some general basis sort of stuff. You can just like
Mhm.
look at general lore of like what goes on in it, like why the orcs are like pretty much plant people, or where like these like void necromorph creatures come from. Like that's stuff you can probably cover in like 5 minutes, or like the history of humankind. But other than that, you don't need a dumpster dive on that one. Trust me, I'll save you like 18 hours of reading and videos and comprehensive guides that still haven't helped me out that much. Just don't.
Comprehensive guide that still misses a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, gosh, what else was out here? Jeez,
We got a bit of Microsoft Flight Simulator on Xbox.
I was going to say that next. Thank
I'm
God,
wondering
I've been
how
asking for
that. I'm wondering how that console is going to handle that game, like literally the world.
Yeah, SSDs are, I would say, essential to something like that, to be streaming those environments. I was sitting watching that, and something came into my head, and this might sound a wee bit sort of over the top, but sometimes I think these mad crazy things. I'm pretty sure that whenever I was born, you could not scan a bit of paper. If you had a bit of paper with some writing on it, there was no way to get that into a computer. Scanners didn't exist. We have went from that stage to where we have scanned the entire world, the entire planet, from satellites in the sky, and now we can access all that data and all that information in a video game on a console that sits under your TV. And that blew my mind. It's like the whole world is in that game, and we can just fly about and see it all.
That is actually very cool.
Yeah, it's insane. It's insane what's in there. And I think sometimes we take these things for granted, that exists, but it's mind blowing. It's absolutely mind blowing.
There is actually a about Microsoft Flight Simulator on YouTube of how they made it, and there's a gnat in my face. It is really amazing how they actually used cloud technology and AI to compress, and they also use it to actually stream to everyone's computers who's trying to look at a different part of the world. But I think it's either a 30-minute or hour-long video of how they did it, and they were like, we had a lot of challenges. We had a lot of challenges.
Yeah.
They apparently took years and years and years of algorithm writing, algorithm rewriting, picture taking, a lot of things that didn't scale correctly. Like I don't know if everyone saw the article of the huge building that someone marked for like 3,000 meters higher or whatever it was. It was the only building.
Brought that up once, yeah.
It was the only building that was out of scale, but they're like, we fixed it in no time. But yeah, if you're really into that kind of thing, which I'm actually looking into in my free time, cloud and AI, and it's super powerful stuff. But that's actually how they built it, was cloud power and AI. So it was very impressive stuff. It's also, like you said, mind blowing.
Absolutely, yeah.
Monster Hunter Rise announced for the Nintendo Switch. We're not getting Monster Hunter World, but yep, we're getting Rise. So I'll take it.
I'm gonna have to do Rise. I'm gonna have to do Rise because me and my buddy played. I played about 170 hours of World. And the only thing that I did not like about that game was this prep time for monsters. I get out there, faint. Like, guys, we got to do this again. Because it's such a hard game, and it's also so rewarding too. Like, it's very rewarding. So I'm looking forward to see what Rise has in store for us.
What else is out there?
Was there anything you guys were expecting to see that didn't show?
Besides Elder Scrolls 6?
Elder Scrolls 6.
I was actually kind of expecting to see some Resident Evil 8 gameplay, and they didn't show it. But I think that they're too close to release to actually show. They might be holding off for E3 because I think they might be announcing a release date at E3 because I am a huge Resident Evil 7 fan. Like, I love that they went back to the horror. Like, I've played through that game probably 6 times. I even got the achievement for beating it under 3 hours, and I still have to play it on Madhouse because that's one of the hardest achievements to get because the game is so difficult. But the ambiance, the music, the way the world, even though the world is literally like 2 levels and then a boat off to the side, it just looks fantastic and it feels fantastic. Like, it just gives you the creeps when you play it. I absolutely love that.
I recently replayed the first half hour of it, and I just sat there going, I forgot how good this was. I forgot. And I've got it on VR because I've only played it on regular.
I have VR and I have yet to play that VR. I won't do it.
I kept saying to myself, I've got to wait until I kind of forget. And that little playing half an hour was enough to make me realize I have forgotten lots of this, and it is time to give it a crack on VR.
I'm not doing VR. Never. Nope.
I'll try it, but I don't know how far.
And I'm even a huge fan of VR, and I'm a huge fan of Resident Evil. I will not combine those together. I literally, I'm afraid I might break my headset because I know what's coming in the game, but I've never had it in my face. Because I actually had my uncle try the Resident Evil 7 VR demo on PlayStation, and he was like, when those hands came across my eyes, he was looking for a way to get the headset off his face because he was like, that was so damn creepy, dude. I'm like, VR. Welcome to VR. He's like, that was awesome, but never again. But yeah, no, yeah. I'm actually super, like, I actually jumped up and screamed when they announced Village because that looks phenomenal, and they're continuing Ethan's story from number 7. So I'm definitely that honestly, if they need a category best horror game, even though there wouldn't be a whole lot in that category because not a whole lot of them come out in a year, but they need a best cringe award maybe for horror games or something like that. So I'm definitely looking forward to. I was hoping for some Village gameplay or maybe some more info about it, but we still don't have any info about it. So that's kind of making me chomp at the bit a little bit.
I was kind of expecting to see Elden Ring. I thought it was going to show.
They name dropped it a couple times, right? And
it was most anticipated.
Most anticipated, yeah.
Yeah, but
unfortunately, there's a lot of stuff out there that's anticipated. So all of that could have won.
Sure. Yeah, I agree.
Because I mean, I'm super waiting for a Horizon Forbidden West, and as I've told you guys, I'm a huge Horizon Zero Dawn advocate. So yeah, the sooner they can release I'd honestly prefer a single platform release for Forbidden West than a port. That way it stays true to the PlayStation fans that have played it for years before it came to PC. But however they plan to release, of course, is how they're going to plan to do it. But I'm super stoked. Like we've never seen any online world, or not online, underwater worlds, and they're going to dive into underwater, and it just looked beautiful from the trailers. So.
I'll say for myself, besides the Resident Evil 8 and Elden Ring, there wasn't anything specific I was really hoping for, because I think we kind of went into this knowing that a lot of these, the PlayStations of the world, Xbox, Nintendo, some of the big players, they weren't going to come out with their big guns in the show, right? They're probably going to hold that for their own events, and maybe hype it up for next fall, I'd imagine, which, hey, it sucks that we may not get a lot here in 2021 until fall, but hey, it is what it is. Something I've been wanting to see for a minute is some news on Fallout. Like you said, Jack, Elder Scrolls, I wouldn't mind seeing more from the Bethesda front on that, but I guess we'll stay tuned and see what happens there. What about you, Jack? Was there anything that you thought was just notably absent other than that?
So I think the one thing for me that I really took note of, and I'm going to try and be a little bit like understanding about it because of COVID, but the Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2 is supposed to come out in October this year. And they held back on that because of COVID. It had halted the development. But I was like, well, maybe we'll get a gameplay trailer. Maybe we'll get something to go along with it. And we didn't get anything from it. It could have been prime time to kind of show what they're doing. And now they've pushed it back to like March 21. And I don't know. I'm kind of bummed out about that a little bit. But
yeah. I guess we'll see what happens there. I was sorry, and I don't want to go backwards on this, but one thing I thought was actually notably missing there that I forgot to mention: Halo Infinite.
Yes.
And I know that maybe Microsoft's just holding that a little bit closer for more time in the oven, so to speak, just because of what we've seen, but maybe rightfully so.
I'd say they're too busy working on it to be hyping it right now.
I think that thing needs another year in the oven, because what they did show, I'm like, I'm not even a huge Halo fan, but I mean, I'm of course a fan of games, but I saw that, I was like, you've got to be kidding me.
Maybe it's because they were putting a lot of time putting them in Fortnite. I don't know.
Oh yeah, so we haven't talked about that, by the way. Fortnite, the fucking 200 million crossovers this game has done already. We're getting not just a Master Chief crossover, right? Which is huge, because Master Chief doesn't make a lot of cameos in other games, but he's doing it for Fortnite. But we're getting the whole goddamn level, a new map from the Halo franchise. Blood Gulch. I mean, if there's ever been a badder one than Beaver Creek, it's Blood Gulch.
And it's going to be the first time that Master Chief is on PlayStation.
Yeah.
Just like
Fortnite on PlayStation.
Just like we've got Kratos, because Kratos is in.
Not a huge fan of that. But.
So you've got. I can't stand Fortnite. I think this just we'll have that. And
I mean,
a video game. It just reeks of.
The fact that it makes like $8 to $10 billion in microtransactions alone, and they sell a copy of it in game stores. I'm like, it's free while they sell the coin with the game. And I mean, I'm a huge believer in the single IPs like the Master Chief or the Halo collection, God of War, and I think they even put some of the Marvel stuff in there. Marvel, you do what you want, I don't care. But I mean, you're taking my man Kratos out of his game and putting him in a game like that and making him dance. I'm like. And that just took the seriousness right out of that franchise.
Seeing Kratos giving it all that, I was just like,
I cringed watching that video. I was like, man, Kratos, what they did my boy like that? Why?
I couldn't. That was horrible.
Devil's advocate here. Do you think kayfabe, if you know it as that word, where breaking the fourth wall, we'll call it that, right? Is a thing like it was maybe 5-10 years ago even, and I hate to make a wrestling comparison here because I think I've done that a couple of times before on the podcast, but as a huge wrestling fan, it's hard not to. But when you think of breaking that fourth wall and you realize this isn't something that you thought it would be, think of Kratos dancing around and stuff like that. Do people take that kayfabe seriously anymore? Because sometimes I do just see it as a skin, which sucks. And there's some I love and hold dear, and I'm like, don't you fucking touch that. Don't you ruin that for me. Because I've been playing this for 15 goddamn years. Don't you do that. And I kind of gatekeep. But I guess we're kind of getting to that point as a society where, that's not really so much a thing anymore with kayfabe, right?
I mean, I honestly, as much as I hate skins being pulled from my franchise and put into Fortnite, it's a skin. Have fun with it. I don't care. It's not who Kratos really is. as long as they don't have him voiced in that game doing some kind of, dialogue or whatever, or doing some kind of story stuff, I don't care. He's a skin, whatever. Just don't put Snake from Metal Gear Solid in there. I will literally call Epic up, and I use their engine every day. I will call Epic up and I will be like, you guys just lost a customer, a free customer. Yeah, just don't touch Solid Snake, please.
What else is going on out there in the games show? Is there anything else I want to mention here? I know we've been on here for just a minute, but
just one other one that I was disappointed wasn't there, and maybe I'm being a wee bit optimistic hoping for it, but Silent Hills.
Okay,
I agree with you, man.
I would have loved to have seen a Silent Hills. There seems to be rumors kind of bubbling to the surface that is going to happen, and when that get announced, I will be very, very excited for that. I just think
I think that's one that's going to be saved for either Sony's E3 show or the Tokyo Game Show, because I think Kojima might be behind it.
Yeah. I think you're right. Tokyo Game Show would be the right platform for that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm definitely. We definitely need a Silent Hills game from the perfect director and the perfect studio. I'm not saying Sony is the only perfect studio out there, but they have such a track record of having new IPs or continued IPs just absolutely blow it out of the water.
Mm-hmm.
And with big names like Cory Balrog or Stig Asmussen, David Jaffe, who created the God of War series and Twisted Metal series. I hope he's working on something soon. But and Kojima, I mean, as soon as he went over to Sony, like being a little bit more of a Sony fanboy than Xbox, I was crying tears of happiness because he went over to Sony. So, but yeah, I'm really hoping that whoever does do Silent Hills, if it's not Kojima and Sony, that they really pay homage to it, keep the creepiness, keep the ambiance, and for the love of God, don't listen to the publisher. Make the game the way you want to, but also keep those fans in mind that have been playing it since day one.
A beautiful thing. Well, boys, what do you say we take it home here? Any last words before we turn it over to Jack? No? All right. Silence. All right.
Yeah.
So without further ado here, thanks for tuning in, everybody. Appreciate it. Jack, why don't you tell the people where they can find you in the Game Savers family?
Well, first, let me start off by saying, again, thank you guys for having me on. It's always a blast to be on here. I enjoy it every time. It's one of my favorite things. If you guys want to find me, follow me at Twitch at Cactus Daddy, all one word, Daddy spelled Daddi.
I love it. I absolutely
love it. That threw me off.
That threw me off. I can't hold it in.
It's okay. I've practiced keeping a straight face when I tell people my Twitch name. So
I don't even mind the cactus part, just the I at the end threw me off.
Oh, for Daddy?
Yes. Oh, I was expecting a Y between an I in there. I'm like, well, now I got to respell it in my head.
but Cactus Daddy.
I was perfectly fine with that. Yeah.
On Twitter, it's Daddy Cactus, capital D, capital C, and on Instagram, it's Jacked Up Illustrations, with underscore between Jacked and Up and Illustrations.
Got it. Awesome. Okay. So you know where to find him, ladies and gentlemen. We're glad to have Jack on the show. And David, again, thank you for joining the Game Savers family as well. Appreciate you joining as well. But thanks for being on.
Yeah, absolutely. I had a blast, and I hope you contact more for more of these spots because I really enjoyed it. And honestly, if I'm not talking about video games, I'm dreaming about them or thinking about them. So you can always find me, and I'll happily jump on again and do this again, man. It's fun.
Appreciate it, brother. Yeah, it's our favorite part about quarantine too. And always thanks to Wayne. I'd always staying up extra late over there in your neck of the woods in Northern Ireland. So appreciate
it. Yep. I love your accent, by the way.
Oh, that's not cheers.
Yeah.
Without further ado here, so we'll go ahead and wrap things up. Again, thanks for tuning in. I'll just kind of give a brief summary of the things we didn't chat about because they are out there and they were a part of the Game Awards. Obviously, you had the reveal for that dragon-looking game at the beginning, the Century Age of Ashes reveal, the Scavengers game, the Nintendo Indie World presentation, the Forza Horizon 4 trailer with the Cyberpunk vehicle. You had the Open Roads game, Endless Dungeon coming from Sega, some Overcooked DLC in the form of a Swedish chef. Again, we had Warframe coming out with a new free weapons pack update. We got to see the Mario Music Orchestra too, which was kind of cool. I know we didn't talk about that, but also as far as other things too, Fall Guys for getting that winter update. Hey, Odyssey Elite Dangerous, Outriders, Ghosts and Goblins we chatted a little bit about. Capcom Arcade Stadium is coming, Returnal, Rogue Company, Super Meat Boy Forever, Genshin Impact, Road 96, Star Wars VR Tales. A lot of Pokemon Go info dropped, Oddworld Soulstorm, Monster Hunter Rise. We chatted about that as well. And so many other games that came up. I know one that's coming out here, I think this week actually, Medal of Honor Above and Beyond, which is virtual reality VR. So that series is still kicking. But again, that's just a really quick and dirty version of what was announced that we didn't talk about on this show. Again, thanks everybody for tuning in. We appreciate all our guests being here too. Shout out to those of you that are listening. Appreciate you hopping on over the weekend. And without further ado, you know where to find us on Facebook at facebook.com/GameSavers. Thank you very much, everybody. Please don't forget to save your game.